Roy, the big breaking news, Frank Lampard until the end of the season.
Good luck to him. It's not football. The way things have changed, obviously the manager's under pressure now, and a lot of clubs are looking for managers to go into the end of the season. Yeah, listen, good luck to him. I'm not bothered, but listen.
It isn't right, you know what I mean? You've still got 2 months of the season to go. You've still got to do it properly. And I think Chelsea, to be fair, can't just afford just to sort of leave, you know, Graham Potter's number 2 in or assistant for the rest of the season. So they have to do something. They obviously can't get the man that they want, whether it be Nagelsmann, whether it be Pochettino, whoever. They can't get the person in they want. The guy Bowley's having an absolute nightmare, to be fair. It's not going well at all.
It's been like a Premier League revolution in terms of the managers getting the chop. Brendan Rodgers was another one who went. Was it good timing, or it's a bad decision? Because think about what he's done for that club.
It's just purely about the desperation. The difference in the money between the Championship and the Premier League is so vast that they're absolutely panicking like crazy. There's none of these managers would be, you know, half of these managers wouldn't be sacked if the gap between the Championship and the Premier League was a lot less. And that's a big problem. You're now getting to the point whereby you're talking about clubs potentially, big clubs being in massive trouble if they go down. You look at Nottingham Forest, you look at Everton, Leicester. They've got vast sums of money that they will lose if they go down. It's a big problem.
You could argue that Brendan Rodgers' reputation hasn't been hugely damaged by his time at Leicester. And there are so many managers now who are kind of floating around, from the likes of Nagelsmann. Tuchel it was available, and then, you know, they went in for him. But it's going to be really interesting to see where the likes of Conte and Nagelsmann and Pochettino end up. The fact that Chelsea have put an interim manager in between now and the end of the season, does that mean a team like Spurs can maybe steal a march and go for their first choice?
I think if we're being totally honest, if a manager's got an option between Chelsea and Spurs, I think he's going to choose Chelsea in terms of giving them more chance of winning. Maybe there's a bigger transfer kitty there. So the fact that you've put Frank Lampard in tells me that they may have something already lined up with that person who wants to come in the summer. So that's why they're putting, you know, a proper manager in some ways, who's had sort of 2 or 3 jobs rather than Bruno, who's Graham Potter's number 2. So I wouldn't be surprised if it came out in the next couple of weeks that Nagelsmann's agreed to join Chelsea, but he wants a little bit of time out. He wants to get himself ready for the summer and have a pre-season. I might be totally wrong and they can't get anyone and they're still working on that. But to do Frank straight away and not give it another week or so to try and get someone in for the next 2 months, I think it makes me feel like they've maybe already got something lined up for the summer.
You mentioned Champions League. Chelsea have got a bit of a history of having an interim manager or manager coming in halfway through the season and doing quite well. Could this be their year?
No chance.
Roy?
No, I can't see it. No, Chelsea, no, they've got some excellent players, but there's something obviously amiss at the moment there. Even the last couple of performances, not finding a way to win. I always think, I look at the personality of a team. All the stats would be positive in terms of possession and chances created, but they're not. They haven't got that nastiness that probably the Chelsea teams had over the last few years. And Frank's a lucky boy. I think Frank's had some really good jobs, and to go back in there, but you need that bit of luck in the game. But do I see Chelsea going on to win the Champions League or kicking on to obviously getting in the top 4? I can't see it. But listen, it's a mad game we're involved in. But they do have quality players. But I think that because they've brought so many players in together, it does take time to gel. And I don't think they've got that kind of spirit and unity at this moment in time.
Gary, you were saying just backstage that they're not as far away as Roy thinks.
Joe, I was watching Chelsea last night. I asked a question earlier on today on social media about who was nearer to winning a title, Chelsea, Liverpool or United. And I asked that having watched Liverpool last night. Obviously Liverpool quite a lot in the last few weeks I've watched. United I've watched a lot in the last few weeks, Manchester United. And there was something I saw last night which obviously they're short of a manager, they're short of a centre forward. I think the goalkeeper could be better. But I just thought last night when I was watching them, Fofana, the centre-back, thought was fantastic. They've got Badiashile on the bench. Koulibaly's obviously a half-decent defender. The 2 full-backs have got the ability, if they stay fit, to be the best in Chilwell and Reece James. I thought the midfield 3 of Fernandes, Kovacic and the other one now. Was it? Kante. N'Golo Kante. I thought actually behind City's of Rodri, De Bruyne and Gundogan, probably the best midfield I've seen all season as a 3. They were fantastic as a 3. And then you've got João Felix and Havertz. Now, if you put a centre forward in there, they had Mount on the bench, they had Sterling on the bench, they had loads of others on the bench, Thiago Silva to come back. I thought if you put a proper manager there and you get a couple of decent signings, are they nearer than maybe Manchester United are? When you look at Manchester United's midfield that's playing tonight, it's the same as Sunday. Sabitzer, McTominay and Fernandes. Obviously, Casemiro's got to come back in. Manchester United need a centre forward. They need definitely some full-backs, centre-halves as well. So you're looking at it and thinking, who is actually near? Liverpool looking miles away at the moment. I'm enjoying it a little bit. But, Liverpool look like they need a little bit of a rebuild, a lot of a rebuild. So you look at it and think, I think Chelsea last night showed some promise. I thought they played pretty well in the game. They were by far the better team. Obviously, they're well out of it at the moment. But they could be nearer than we all think just Saturday if you look at some of the players they've got.
I think the standard of Premier League has been poor this year. I really do. I think even Spurs lost 9-10 games. Liverpool, where United are, these teams are well off. And the teams near the bottom are all, I think, really, really poor. And we're talking about 7 or 8 teams. I think the standard's been really poor this year in terms of the Premier League. Obviously, Arsenal have been excellent. Of course, we know how good Man City are. But I think the rest have been really, really average. And I'm agreeing with Gary. I think Chelsea do have a lot of good players, but good players don't make a good team. I just think it'll take a long time for these players to gel, because it just doesn't happen overnight. When you bring so many players into your football club, we're seeing it. Forest obviously don't have the quality, but when you bring so many players into your club, it does take time for players to settle in. And obviously, at Chelsea, managers don't get that time. They're out the door.
Jamie, on what Spurs go for next, Daniel Levy has said, years ago, he said, we're going to go back to this Spurs style of attacking football, and they're not the managers or the style of managers that he's brought into the club. Is that what they have to go for next, do you think, or are they looking for something different again?
I think the top 6 teams, I think the Chelsea, Man City and United, if they have a bad season, they can rectify it in the summer with a lot of money and attack the transfer market as Chelsea have done this last 12 months. I think when you look at the job Arteta's done, he's built that up year on year. Klopp did that as well. And I think Tottenham need that. When you think of what Pochettino did, it was almost like a building block. And whether you like the football or not of Conte, they got 4th. They could have gone 3rd against Southampton. So in some ways, take away who the manager is, a style of football. You say, well, okay, that is building and getting slightly closer. And for another manager, that'd be fine. But for Conte, he's a bit nuts. And his way of working is to win right now. So Tottenham was never the right club for him. Because if that was Pochettino in there, playing better football, but you'd say 4th, yeah. Pushing up next season, who will we buy in the summer? We'll get a little bit closer. Tottenham have to have it doesn't necessarily have to be a young manager, but they have to have a manager who is prepared to build over 3 or 4 years and getting better each year, the way Arsenal have done, the way Liverpool have done in the past. And they need and the new Pochettino, we feel like, or a younger coach who's going to sort of think he's going to build something for 4 or 5 years. And that's what they need to do, because they're never going to have the revenue and the funds that a Chelsea are going to have, or a Man City are going to have, to completely sort of change the season by going big in the transfer market. So who that man is, I'm not sure. Maybe it's the guy at Brighton, young up-and-coming coach, looks really good. It looks like they're trying to go for Nagelsmann as well. He's a young manager. I think there's a guy at Sporting Lisbon who people are talking about, the new Portuguese coach. So I think someone of that ilk, rather than sort of a big-name manager who wants a lot of funds and just wants to stay there for 2 years.
But if you look at Spurs' last couple of games, you're talking about managers and chairmen. The players have got to take responsibility. They get the goal in front, and they just back off. Almost no bottle, some of these Spurs players. Absolutely none whatsoever. Just get the job done. We mentioned Chelsea last night, all applauded. But at this top-level sport, it's about winning games. It's about getting over the line. So whatever with the managers of Spurs are going to have the same problems. It's in their DNA. The players, a lot of their players, just can't do it. Can't do it.